today is rough, dog. And they are there for me, whether they are in similar sort of low or whether they are not having a bad day. And so they can more clearly give me some feedback and structure about what to do. That has really been a saving grace. I'm going to give a real specific shout out to Tomas Bell. For me, without going into any unnecessary details, trying to figure out this work-life balance. And I even hate that phrasing because I think it's such capitalistic BS, but like the harmony between what I need to get
balance,
done.
Just balance.
Just balance, right? And right. I like the harmony between what I need to get done to keep these checks coming in.
Right.
What I need to do to be present for my child, what she needs from me. Like last week, we just were not in sync with that piece.
And to be present for yourself. Like
present for myself. Yourself. And that I think was not happening at all last week.
Right.
I was so focused on, I don't have the bandwidth to do these things these people are asking from me. And my child needs me to be present. There's this new onboarding with virtual learning. I'm trying to get that set up. I want to keep her engaged. I want her to be okay, because if she's okay, that lets me be not okay. The minute she's not okay is when I am totally out of So all of that. Shout out to Tomas for really just being there every time I picked up the phone, whether it was with a joke to kind of take me into a different kind of mindset, or whether it was to like, let's strategize and talk this out. Special shout out to Dr. LaWanda Hill who was like, get up, put some clothes on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The real basics.
Absolutely.
And so I just wanted to make sure that I could kind of earn the benefit that I have had from relying on folks in my tribe, really engaging in a sense of community in the most real and important way, and share that message with the Duper Deep listeners. I know that there are legitimate cases of folks that have committed suicide as a result of this social isolation.
Absolutely.
I know that there are folks that are really experiencing really severe activation of their depression and anxiety as a result of this social distancing. Yep. And so I just want to do my part in whatever way I can to help mitigate that impact as much as possible. Let there not be unnecessary mental health casualties in this physical pandemic health experience that we're experiencing.
And I think it's really important for all of us to acknowledge that part, right? That there were people who had pre-existing mental illness that was easily being covered because they never had to deal with it before. They were able to throw themselves in their work and their activities and their, the various different social things, et cetera, et cetera. Now we're dealing with people who maybe for the first time in their lives are dealing with themselves. And they don't know how to get the support. They may not know they need the support. They're sitting there with their own thoughts, and those thoughts are their own worst enemies. So I think it's really important during this time, not just for yourself, but for someone else. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can, because you can. Because you can.
That's the other piece. One, I want to talk about all the things that I've received, right? That's keeping me going and that I plan on continuing to rely on as this turns into weeks and weeks and weeks, right? But the other piece that has always just been a fundamental truth is that the more that you're able to focus your energy towards helping others, what is your part? That is the essence of community.
Right.
It is not being in relationship with other people, but is that you are doing your part to facilitate as much reciprocity in those relationships as others. Recognizing that in areas in which you may have access, excess, abundance, strengths in maybe the very areas that someone else needs. And so I think for me, it's also been important. How can I pay this forward? Because the more I'm able to continue to transfer that energy as much as possible, I think the more that we are all benefited from.
Amen.
And I had this thought, and it is a privilege, right? And and I had this thought, but I hadn't quite gotten around to it. And so my daughter's after school program is it's a faith-based, not-for-profit organization. And I cannot rave enough about the Forge for Families. It has been such an integral part to my role as parenting and such an integral part to my daughter's development. They are they're just the bee's knees. They're amazing. They're awesome. They're
in 1956.
They do so much in terms of her social and spiritual development. And it's not just from a particular religious lens. It is just from about how to embody good character. How do you begin to teach lessons around community and connection? They don't, the way discipline looks there is communally based. It is restoratively based. They learn about every individual child and really not only acknowledge, but constantly celebrate their strengths and try to help them navigate around their areas of growth as much as possible. They provide her with academic assistance. It's amazing. It's run and operated by a number of Black people. There's all these strong Black women that show up in all the ways that strong Black women do in terms of their realness, their vulnerability, their high expectations for their best excellence, and their willingness to meet them where they are and stand up for them when they don't rise up to that. So I can't say enough about the Forge. Like literally it has made child rearing for me as a single parent of a child of color so much easier. But they've been closed. They primarily run an after school program, and then they run some youth sports programs on the weekend. And so they have been closed. And when they're closed, what does that mean? There's no revenue coming in. And so one of the parents reached out and said that they were going to just use their tuition as a donation. And that had been my plan as well. And so my tuition was auto paid. And so I reached out to the director and the after school executive director today to say, it auto paid under tuition. I just want to make sure I want that to be a donation to you all. Like I know you're not, going to be providing services. Then I said, whatever I can do. I said, I wish I could do more than pay my tuition, but that's what we're holding steady at right now. And the love that I got back from them was tenfold of what I did for them. Right. And that was also another really boost from me today was you think you're just doing a little bit, but whenever you provide something to someone that is at its very intention, out of love and caring, no matter how small it is, the impact is always going to be magnified. And so then I get something back because I gave something. Right. Right. Yes. Oh, I love this. Dr. LaWanda Hill says, well, you are helping me today, Dr. Nikki, because I was depleted from giving, but this is restorative. So reminder to those giving to give to themselves. Absolutely.
Well, can we say a shout out to you, Dr. Nikki, for giving? And I mean, it's in my spirit, so I got to say it. Must be nice to have tuition money, because I ain't got no tuition money over here. No, seriously. What you really did, you helped to put food on a teacher's table this month. You helped to keep some of that electricity paid, right?
But let me pause you right there, because I later got a text almost about an hour before we got on from the after school director that said, we now have a donor that's willing to match every parent that is paying up to $250K.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Wait a minute. Let's do it. Won't he do it?
Yes.
Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Won't he do it?
For real though.
I'm serious.
It's so serious.
Won't he do it? Let all my blackness fly out here today.
All the blackness. Won't he do it? And so I hear you. And I also want to acknowledge Dr. LaWanda's comment about privilege. I recognize that even in this moment of economic uncertainty, even for me, and that's a big part of my job stress, right?
Right.
That I still very much sit in a place of economic privilege. that I could say, well, my budget already accounted for this, so let me use it in this way, right?
Right.
Recognizing that there are some parents that are served in the Forges after school program who are not in that same place,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I want to acknowledge that.
And you want to know why I said that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just want to say, I said that because I think it's important for people to understand that it's not always about economics. It's not always about what you do for others. Sometimes it's about what you do for yourself. Sometimes your giving back is putting on a mask when you walk out in these streets, because you don't know if you are asymptomatic or not, and you can't stop a cough when it come out. You can't stop a sneeze when it's about to happen. Sometimes in some places, you can't stop how close you are to someone, or you touching something before someone else comes along and picks it up. So there are ways for you to give, so many different ways. We all must be comfortable and confident in what we're doing. And if you can give a little more, like you're in that blessed position to do so, then be blessed and do it. But don't think because you don't have money right now, you can't do something in this pandemic, because you can.
Yeah.
And everyone really, really needs to hear that and get that, and just stand in that place and understand. If there's ever a time for us to come together and put aside all this partisan foolishness, this would be that time. This is the time when you get to see what being human is really all about. And I hope people are taking this opportunity and taking it seriously. I really, really do.
I think that is, so one, I 100% agree with that. For me, on a bigger kind of universal spiritual level, I think that is a big part of the lesson we need to collectively learn through this experience.
That's right.
But whether you buy into that or not, what we have to recognize is nothing is business as usual. And I think a lot of people are struggling because, one, I think a lot of people have never even thought about another world. They've never imagined life outside of its pre-corona context. That it just is what it is.
That's
right?
That's right.
And so they are really in the throes of trying to reorient themselves, find themselves in this brand new context. You said some people have never been alone with their thoughts. That is absolutely true. Some people have never stopped and slowed down enough to be deliberative about any sort of connection, any sort of relationship, to even stop and think how much them as an individual impacts the world around you. This country, America, is built on this message of rugged individualism, and communities of color have had to always exist through community. We wouldn't be standing, we wouldn't survive, let alone thrive, if we didn't fundamentally understand community as part of who we are and what we do. But there are folks they are really struggling to get through this. And so I don't want to be dismissive of their sense of anxiety, their sense of grief, their bereftness, all of that.
Right.
Oh, shout out to Dr. LaWanda Hill with a shameless plug. And I'm all about shameless plugs when you dropping jewels. And she says she's got a blog coming soon on her website. That is drlawandahill.com. on self-reflection amid COVID-19.
And since we're doing shameless plugs, let me say very clearly, Coaches and Cocktails on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Go to Fiverr, fyvnyc.eventbrite.com. Register, join, bring your favorite cocktail. Bring your cocktail, Dr. LaWanda Hill. Bring that cocktail.
And get some coaching
through.
And cocktails.
Yes, and I will definitely be on the lookout for your blog. When is your blog going to hit?
For those of you all listening on Spreaker, we're waiting for her response to that. We'll update you as to that.
Her response was, for those on speaker, her response was, I will what? Oh, one here today. Oh, okay, cool. So you know what? I'm going to take and make sure people know about this blog. I'm going to include it in our links here. Okay. And tweet it out and let everybody know about it. Thank you so much for that. Because it's the more resources. Here's the thing. The more resources that are fact based,